Hello, and welcome to probably the penultimate episode of BuzzPucks for this season. We'll be back next season. I'm Bert.
I'm Clay.
And we're here.
Speak.
We're here to talk about what happened at the draft this week.
And our last two.
And signings and all of that. Our last four each.
Teams.
Teams for the off season.
Words.
And then next week's episode will probably be whatever happens in free agency in that week, because free agency opens on Wednesday. So we'll see what happens there. Usually in the first week is when all the big names sign.
Yeah.
So we should be able to get to that. And then, I think we're going to take a break for a couple of months.
Yep.
And we'll be back maybe September, something like that. We'll figure that out. But yeah, it's been a good season so far.
Woo, woo, woo.
Woo! But before we get to anything, Clay, what are we drinking?
What are we drinking? I didn't buy this. Berlinetta.
Berlinetta.
The Velvet Pilsner. It's from Berlin.
It's from Berlinetta Brewing Company.
Where you go? Oh,
It's,
Bridgeport.
Bridgeport.
That's
Yeah, Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. And
It's
they
a
work with
Czech-style lager.
Thimble Island Brewing
Oh,
Company.
there you go.
Cool.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
It's called a Velvet Pilsner. It's interesting. Never heard something described as a Velvet Pilsner before.
I like it.
It is very
Yes.
smooth. Yeah, it's pretty smooth,
Already
obviously.
I already have next week's beer down.
Excellent.
It's great.
Excellent. It has to be a good one. So Dragon's Milk, obviously. No? Oh, man. Get the highest percentage alcohol.
Just as good.
Okay.
Not.
Is it delirium?
No, it's not.
Damn it! I wanted to get hammered for the last episode. All right, let's start out with the news. There's not a ton of news
The draft happened.
this week. The draft did happen, but before that happened, Ottawa bought out Colin White.
Yep.
He was kind of floundering in Ottawa.
It's going to be a good change.
He's gonna get signed somewhere.
Yeah, it's going to be a good change of pace.
In fact, I heard Toronto is very
yeah.
interested in him.
I think
The buyout's not that bad. It's under $1 million a year cap penalty, so Ottawa's like, whatever. They have plenty of cap space anyway.
right,
Just for a couple of
and
years,
I think he was having defensive issues,
Hey, what are you doing? Get out of there.
which the offensive production didn't help with.
Sorry, my dog was doing something in the kitchen. So he's still young.
Yeah.
Change of pace is probably gonna be good for him.
Mm-hmm.
And Ottawa opens a roster spot. Kirill Kaprizov may or may not be stuck in Russia. I'm a little confused about what's going on with this. So if you guys remember
Last
last
I've heard,
week,
he's still in Russia.
right? But it's unconfirmed that it's an issue similar to Fedotov with the military stuff, or if it's a visa problem.
So he got denied twice coming into the U.S. But
That was a visa problem.
That was a visa problem on the U.S.'s side.
Yeah, that was U.S. saying no because I think last year, because visas are backed up to hell and back because of COVID, I believe last year most or all of the European players got kind of an exemption to come in. And this year, I'm sure it'll get figured out eventually if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also rumors that Kaprizov
He's wanted by...
kind of dodged the draft too or whatever, but that's not confirmed. Who knows? I have a feeling if that is an issue, Kaprizov has more than enough money to get out of that problem.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing with Russia, much like the United States, very corrupt.
Yes.
So
governments.
a bit of money, I'm sure he'll be free. Fedotov did not have that much money, so I think that might be the problem.
Yep.
So we'll see. I imagine Kaprizov will
He'll
be fine, be back in the U.S. for the season. I'm sure it'll be fine. One thing next, something interesting was Nick Backstrom apparently wants to play next year. He's determined to play next year.
Yeah, I saw that too.
So we'll see how that goes.
And the Washington's GM has stated that they're not treating that LTIR as extra cap space because they're expecting Backstrom to come back.
Well, that's a good strategy at the very least, because that could really bite them if he only misses like half the season.
Mm-hmm.
That could really be an issue for Washington at that point if they use that cap space. But
yeah.
Okay, good for him. I hope he does.
Yeah.
I always like to see guys' careers end on their terms.
Yes.
It's always the storybook ending. Obviously, is the one that like Ray Bork got. you win a championship, you're old as hell. You win it in your last season, and you're like,
You're
I'm done.
Yep.
And then you ride off into the sunset into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
That's the dream of every player of any sport. That doesn't always happen, but it always super sucks when it's an injury that ends a career.
Yes.
I didn't write this down, but apparently Braden Holtby's not going to play next year, and his career might be over as well.
Yes, I did see that.
For whatever the injury was last year.
I mean,
kept him out a lot.
we're gonna stop. We're definitely not going to see as many goalies go as far as like Fleury and Anderson
No,
because of how hard the butterfly technique is on your lower body.
Yeah, it's actually surprising. Fleury's 38.
Where exactly Cam Talbot. Like,
Yeah, it's incredible that Fleury has lasted as long as he has, because a lot of those guys just kind of.
people are talking about the ends of careers like quick, and he's 35, 36.
Yeah.
Like, so.
Well, people were talking about Fleury's career ending this year too,
Well,
but that's because he's in the upper 30s. Holtby's only 32, 33.
He's 32.
So he's a little younger.
Right, but that's kind of what I'm getting to is we're going to probably not
He's a
see
year older.
many goalies go past 35. Like, the ones
Yeah.
we're seeing now are
Here's
abnormalities.
Here's the thing: if you hit 35 and you've made like a bunch of money, retire. It's fine.
Yeah.
Agreed. If it was me, and I was like, if I wasn't a star player and I was 35, but I had made several millions of dollars, I'd be like, bye.
Yep.
I'll just be on a beach somewhere or hanging out with my dog
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of my life. So bye-bye. I don't think it's worth it to It's worth it to play through injuries while you're still in your prime, but once you get to like that mid and upper 30s, I don't think it's not worth it to wreck the rest of your life and not be able to walk or think properly or use your arm or whatever.
Nikushkin was at the Stanley Cup parade party in a wheelchair.
Yeah. But he's 25.
And it was a broken
26.
foot, but
Yeah.
But still,
It
that,
will recover.
that
But yeah,
that's going to come back.
Oh,
That
sure.
arthritis is going to come back.
Oh,
with a
certainly.
vengeance.
As a guy who may or may not have arthritis in his foot at 31, good luck, Nikushkin. Speaking of guys going out, not on their own terms, Duncan Keith retired.
I mean, that's his own terms.
Kinda. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
He's got more on his contract. He
He had one more year in his contract.
still his own terms.
That's true. So Keith retired, which if
Helps out the Oilers.
it does help out the Oilers, and it hurts Chicago because the way the cap is structured, or the rules about it, are if a guy retires, that cap doesn't just disappear.
Right.
It's called a cap recapture penalty,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was mostly for 10 or 15 years ago when teams were signing those humongously long contracts, like the one that Crosby signed, one Ovechkin signed.
Well, they were also punishing
Well,
those.
it was Kovalchuk's fault.
Yes, but they were also punishing teams that especially back-ended those.
Yeah.
To circumvent
Yeah, they were
that cap.
They were super front loaded. So what that meant is, I think the cap penalty when those guys retired wouldn't have been that bad.
Right.
But the NHL was like, no, we're not doing that. First of all, you're only giving everybody 8 years tops,
Mm-hmm.
and also you can't do that anymore.
Right. So like they would.
That's why Nashville is shuddering if
at
Sutter
the,
retires.
At the thought of
Or
Weber.
I'm sorry, Weber retires. Yeah,
and
because that cap recapture is like $14 million or
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, that's Philly's fault though. They're the ones that made that contract. So anyway, Duncan Keith retired, which opened up $5.5 million of Edmonton's cap space and took away $5.5 million from Chicago.
now there's also Edmonton's going to fight something else because there's Edmonton should be getting like an extra $3 million of credit.
Oh, for that?
Yes, that they're not getting.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard about that part.
And they're probably going to fight the Players Association. Is probably going to fight that. I mean, an extra $3 million is going to go a long way.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah. For a team that uses as much cap as Edmonton does, spends up to the cap. They're trying to keep Evander Kane, maybe.
Yeah. And
Trying to bolster their depth, hopefully.
The-
Find a goalie.
the NHL does have a problem of picking and choosing when to enforce certain rules because this is the same problem when Luongo retired.
Yeah.
That they're doing the same thing.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, but Duncan Keith, I would say first ballot Hall of Famer probably.
Mm-hmm.
He has a Conn Smythe, which that is the pinnacle award in my in my estimation, you are the MVP of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah.
That usually means your team won.
Right.
3 championships, Norris or 2, I think.
2 Norrises.
Yeah, that's odds-on Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations, Duncan. Bye, I guess.
No more chopping guys in the face with your stick.
Yeah. Malkin can pick that up, don't worry. He already did it a couple of times.
Will he?
We'll see. Let's talk a little bit about the draft. Now, we're not going to go through every single pick, obviously, because we would be here for 7 hours.
Right.
I'm just going to mention that Hurrah Slavkovsky went number 1 overall, so I was wrong next
Which
week.
I told you last week.
You were correct.
You were.
I was wrong.
Convinced.
I thought it did. Well, actually, now it makes sense to me. With one of the trades that they did, it makes sense.
Yes.
So
Slavkovsky is a left winger.
Yeah.
So
he's like isn't he big too?
he's very big. So the big weaknesses for Montreal going into this draft were center depth, Pat Suzuki.
That's why I thought they were odds on taking right.
And left wing.
Or Cooley, one of the two.
So we're going to talk about this later anyway. They traded some picks for Kirby Dach.
Who was the center, yeah.
Who was the center.
Who was really floundering in Chicago, but that's not necessarily his fault, and he's only 21.
He's 21, so he'll get the new change of scenery.
He's going to play with Martin St. Louis, who apparently made everybody better when he showed up.
So Dach is a guy who's proven to be in...
He's big, too.
He can play in the NHL.
Yeah.
So they took a risk and went Slavkovsky.
Well, I don't really think it's that much of a risk.
It's high risk, high reward.
True, yeah. But, the thing with the NHL draft I always think is very interesting is even amongst sports drafts, it is such a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm.
Slavkovsky could be a Hall of Famer, or he could never play a game.
Right.
And that's the number 1 pick. That's happened before.
Yeah.
Where the number 1 pick is just sometimes it's Connor McDavid. Other times it's Nail Yakupov, who played 1 season, I think. One and change seasons. But
that was a great celebration that he did.
That one time.
That's a Hall of Fame celebration.
One of, I think, 15 goals that he scored. So we'll see what happens. I would imagine Slavkovsky will be on Montreal next year.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the number 1 picks get fast-tracked to the team.
And it also makes sense
usually bad.
why Wright fell to 4.
Right, so...
Because next up is...
The Devils apparently were thrown for such a loop that Montreal took Slavkovsky. New Jersey was going to take Slavkovsky. Yes, and they were like, oh, shit. So they took, I believe it's Simone Nemec.
Yes. So
that's by the way, back-to-back Slovakian players, first time ever. Congratulations, Slovakia.
And, center depth, the Devils have that. They have Nico Herscher and they have Hughes.
Yeah, so they didn't take
They don't need Wright.
And then Arizona took Cooley. Logan Cooley, who is a center from Pittsburgh, by the way.
But they probably didn't think that Wright was going to fall to them, so they went with their guy that they originally picked.
I think Arizona was just like, oh, we're going to get Cooley. And Cooley was still there, and Wright was there, and they were like, we'll just take Cooley. That's what I feel like.
Also, Cooley has said that he wants to play in Arizona.
Really?
So,
he wants to go to that college stadium.
Yep.
Boy, that's a Western Pennsylvania boy right there. By the way, he's the highest ever taken Western PA, which is the Pittsburgh area player ever.
Wow!
So congratulations, Logan.
Oh.
He is a product of Sidney Crosby's baby penguin camp.
Oh, that's cool.
There you go.
But yeah, so Wright probably wouldn't want to be there.
Nah.
So
he went to Seattle.
Which
is a slightly better place to be than Arizona.
Yes.
Seattle had a great draft.
Seattle had a very good draft.
They really stocked up on players. They got some players in the second round that people were like, those guys were supposed to be in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
We'll stop there at the picks because I honestly don't remember past that. But I do remember. I believe Philly picked 5th, and it was Cutter Gauthier, and people were like, "Oh, okay."
Right. Yeah.
So that's where we'll stop.
It's funny because for Wright, this could be a big growth moment.
Yeah. He stared down Montreal. Did you see that video? He death stared them.
So
use it as
Wright is a kid who's probably
been
told he's poop don't stink his entire life.
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But when it comes to hockey, and then was guaranteed to go first overall, and then fell to fourth.
Well, until like 2 weeks ago, he
Mhm.
was guaranteed number one.
Yeah.
Like by everybody. And then 2 weeks ago, Montreal was just like, maybe we'll take Slavkovsky.
Right.
And maybe they were working on this Doc trade for like longer than
that.
that. One more note from the.
But also,
go
Wright
ahead.
has gone onto Instagram and then liking people ducking on Montreal for drafting Slavkovsky.
That's pretty petty.
So
it's
I
very
don't
funny.
think this is going to be a growth moment.
I love petty bullshit like that. It's so funny to me. One more note from the first round. Chicago, if you guys will remember, we mentioned several times that they did not have a first round draft pick because they made horrible decisions last offseason. They actually ended up, through trades, getting 3 of them.
Yes.
Clay mentioned, and I'll go through all the trades in just a bit, but they ended up with 7, 13, and 25, I think.
Something like that.
I think so. But we'll go over that later on. So, there were plenty of re-signings this week, too.
Yes.
I'm not going to go over every single one, because a lot of them were like two-way players two-way contracts that got re-signed, but I'm going to mention all of the big established players that got re-signed.
Yep.
The first one of this week was Adam Boqvist. Sorry, my dog is just being weird. I was just making sure she wasn't going to fall. Adam Boqvist, he re-signed for 3 years with Columbus at $2.6 million per.
Good for
That's
him.
really good. I think that's really good for both sides because 3 years from now, I mean, things could change, but Boqvist definitely looks like he's going to be a star defenseman.
Yes.
And 3 years from now, he could be like, hey, $9 million now or more.
Right.
Depending on where the cap is. And, this is a good cost control for Columbus at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty good.
Columbus made some really good moves.
Yeah, we'll see.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be, like, a massive, like, a surefire
I want to see what
contender.
I want to see what they do in, like, free agency, if they take any big swings there. But definitely a good re-signing with Boqvist.
Yes.
And they took, if I remember correctly, they took a bunch of defense in the first round of the draft. I only watched the first round of the draft. Which, amazingly, was done in, I think, 3 hours.
I think 4.
Was it 4? Still better than the NFL.
Well, it would have been a lot better if they hadn't, like, thanked all the other GMs, or, like, all the GMs did this weird speech at the start of all the picks.
I'll be on it. Oh, right. Yeah.
Except for one guy who's just like, here's my pick, and it was like 30 seconds.
Yeah, but it's still
it.
at least an hour or 2 less than the NFL draft. Same amount of teams, and the NFL draft takes like 6 hours to get through the first round. Jacob Middleton re-signed with Minnesota. This is unconfirmed, but everybody's throwing these numbers around. 3 years, $2.45 million per.
Yep.
Marc-Andre Fleury, I'm a little surprised, re-signed with Minnesota as well.
I am too.
2 years, $3.5 million.
Talbot is pissed.
Talbot is pissed, which I think is really funny because Talbot's not that good of a goalie. But yeah, I'm surprised Fleury didn't go to free agency, because he would have had the pick of the litter for whoever. I mean, he's 38, but
if he likes
there's so many teams.
If he likes where he is,
yeah, I guess whatever. He did say, I think he was kind of over like moving his family.
Yeah,
that's one of the main reasons he was pissed Vegas traded him.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some people being like, oh, maybe he'll go back to Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, maybe, but then they re-signed to Smith. I was like, no, that's not gonna happen. One thing that did happen,
what Pittsburgh did re-sign,
Chris Letang re-signed. Get ready, 6 years, $6.1 million per year. That cap hit's great.
Cap hit's great
because he would have gotten at least $2 to $3 million more in free agency.
Yes.
At least 2.
And that's why they stretched it out to 6 years.
Yeah, and I was like a little flabbergasted when I first saw it, but then when I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, so they signed him for 3 years essentially, and then those last 3 years they don't matter.
No,
because Pittsburgh
Crosby's
odds
gonna
are
retire at the end of his contract.
I don't know that Crosby's going to retire at the end of it, but in either direction, Crosby even said he hopes that him and Chris can play out this contract together, and if that's what he wants, you bet your ass Pittsburgh's going to do that for Sid. But in 3 years' time, odds are pretty good.
Rebuilding.
Pittsburgh's going to be like not good, and then like those extra 3 years for like Letang's contract are really going to matter.
No, they get you to the cap floor.
Yeah. And, like, I'm sure that is a conversation that they had with Chris, and we're like, hey, we're probably going to be bad in the last few years of this contract, so you could stay, we don't care.
Yeah.
Or, they'll bury him in LTIR if he's, like, starting to slow down or whatever.
Yeah.
So, not that bad.
Nope.
That cap hit, pretty good. $6.1 million still leaves the Penguins quite a lot of money to play with in free agency. Maybe re-sign Malkin, but I don't know.
I don't think they're going to come to an agreement.
That article that a lot of people are throwing around right now on the hockey subreddit.
I'm not even looking at that.
Okay. Well, there's an article going around that was written by somebody in Pittsburgh that was like, "Oh, Malkin said they don't think I'm good anymore," or stuff like that. The guy who wrote that, his name is Rob Rossi.
Oh.
He makes up garbage.
Yeah.
That's basically a propaganda article, and people are throwing it around like fact. And I'm like, does nobody? No. This guy also said that none of Letang, Rust, or Malkin were going to be back, and 2 of the 3 of them have already re-signed.
Exactly.
So
no, I have to
if you look at that contract or that article, I would kind of almost just completely dismiss it.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where
I don't know. I have a gut feeling he's going to resign.
He might drag it out, but he'll end up.
I feel like he's going to resign. What's today, the 10th? We're recording a day early, but
he could test free agency, see that he's not getting what he wants.
I think he's going to resign like right before free agency starts. I just have a gut feeling.
You just keep people guessing.
Yeah, I just have a gut
That's
feeling.
Fair.
That's what's going to happen. As Clay mentioned, but went official. A2 Luosterainen of Florida re-signed for 2 years, $1.5 million per year.
Yeah,
you mentioned that last week. I think you said $3 million per year, but it was $3 million overall.
Yeah.
So close enough.
Yeah.
After a trade that I will talk about in just a moment, Ville Husso re-signed with not St. Louis but Detroit.
This is a great move on Detroit. I didn't know that they could trade the rights to an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Before free agency opens, the team still has the rights to them until I think noon on the 13th. They still have the rights to all of their free agents. So
cool.
Yeah, so it was 3 years, $4.75 million per year.
That's a good deal.
That's pretty good.
I'm interested to.
I'm shocked that. Well, I guess Husso didn't really have a stake in the matter, but he could have got a shitload of money in free agency.
You only trade the rights. You don't have to resign.
That's true. He didn't have to sign, so I guess he was like, yeah, fine, whatever.
I'm interested to see the Husso and the Nedeljkovic combo.
It's got to be 1A, 1B.
It's got to be.
They just traded for Nedeljkovic last year.
Yeah. And, Nedeljkovic is unrestricted free agent after this year.
That's true.
Or is he restricted?
I think he's an RFA.
Yeah.
But either way.
Yeah, so
yeah, good move by Detroit. That shores up their goaltending, which was, a little shaky at times.
That fixes the Grace problem.
Yeah. Who's a free agent anyway. Yeah. So, next, a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Philip Forsberg re-signed with Nashville. 8 years, $8.5 million.
Not surprised.
I'm not surprised either, but because people were like, oh, they're pretty close,
Well, think of the other contracts on that team. Yossi and
Yossi's is fine. You're talking about Johansson and
which
Duchesne is the other one.
Yeah. They're at 8, so you give him 8.5. Yeah.
I mean, all of them played really well last year. All of those guys played pretty well last year. So, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of bummed. I'm thinking free agency might be a little boring this year. There might be some trades, but that's one. That's 2 of the big names off the board right there in Letang and Forsberg. So,
yeah.
What are you gonna do? And then Sebastian Aho, not that Sebastian Aho, the defenseman one,
the Swedish one.
Yeah, the Swedish one re-signed with the Islanders, 2 years, $825K.
Yes.
I only mentioned that one.
The defenseman.
Yeah, because it was Sebastian Aho. It's just so funny when there's 2 guys with the same name. Did you see Vancouver drafted another guy named Elias Peterson?
Yes.
He's a defenseman.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny.
And Elias Peterson is Elias Peterson's favorite player.
Like, we have the same name.
Sorry, Pedersen.
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 You guys know what we're talking about. All right, let's get to some trades, Clay. Now, the first trade that happened, I believe, right before the draft started, Alex Georgiev was traded to the Colorado. Well, his rights were traded to the Colorado Avalanche for a 2022 third, 2022 fifth, and 2023 third.
A 2020 tweet twerk.
To the Rangers, obviously. So Kemper is going to free agency, clearly.
Well, I think Colorado had talked to Kemper beforehand, and Kemper was just like, "I want 6 years, $6 million."
He wants Grubauer's contract,
and
which
Colorado's
will
just
probably get that.
We can't afford that. So
they got Georgiev, who I'm sure they'll re-sign. He's just an RFA.
Yeah. They have Georgiev and they have Francouz.
Yeah, it'll be Georgiev and Francouz for 1A, 1B tandem. Not bad.
And we'll see if Georgiev can back up his talk of I need to be a starter to be better.
Yeah, who knows? He could become a star. I don't know.
And then another star coming out of the Rangers.
The Rangers goalie backup soon. Because Cam Talbot used to be there too.
Talbot.
Antti Ranta.
I thought Vasilevsky was there. No. I don't know who I'm thinking of.
Well, behind Lundqvist was Cam Talbot.
Yes, for a while.
And Antti Ranta, and I think maybe Kevin Weeks too he was in there at some point.
Right.
I don't know if that was Lundqvist time or not, but yeah. So there you go.
Good for Georgiev.
Next trade involved the Chicago Blackhawks, and they did it. They traded Alex DeBrincat to Ottawa.
Yes.
For the 7th overall pick, a second-round pick in 2022 as well, and a 2024 third. Not enough.
No.
Not enough for DeBrincat.
Chicago got fleeced.
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. DeBrincat is
24.
He's 24 years old, has 2 40-goal seasons under his belt already, and then like two other 30-goal seasons. That was not nearly enough.
The top 2 lines for Ottawa
might be real. Ottawa might be real good next year. Like, for real.
Anton Forsberg in net is a step up from Matt Murray.
Oh, that was something I wanted to mention.
This almost didn't happen.
This almost didn't happen because Ottawa was going to trade Matt Murray in the 7th pick to Buffalo for Buffalo to take Murray's contract.
Yep, because Buffalo needs a goalie.
And Murray nixed that.
Because it's on Buffalo is on his no-move team.
Yep. And so they were like, well, shit. And they got Alex DeBrincat. Much better trade for Ottawa. And speaking of Matt Murray, there's a lot of discussion because the goalie market is drying up because Fleury re-signed, Husso got traded and re-signed.
It's only
it'll be Kemper and Campbell are the 2 like odds-on starters, and so Toronto specifically, I have heard, has been talking to Ottawa heatedly about getting Matt Murray, which I wish Matt Murray the best. He has unfortunately not been the same since his dad passed away. Which is awful.
We've talked about this over the course of the season. Yeah. He's
very injury prone.
He gets hurt. He comes back. He plays like poop for a while. Yeah. Then he plays fantastic.
Yeah, he starts playing well and gets hurt again.
And then gets hurt again. And then the cycle repeats.
Yeah, I don't know. If he does get traded to Toronto, I really hope he turns it around. I hope he becomes a star starting goaltender like his first 2 years in the league showed that he could be. I just wish the best for him. So that would be a very interesting trade.
Yeah.
For Toronto. Because
it puts $6 million on their cap.
Well, unless they get Ottawa to eat some of that. But it's just like, why wouldn't you just use that $6 million for Jack Campbell or Darcy Kemper?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that's reportedly what Kemper wants. So
let's just skip over a little bit and talk about how Toronto somehow got
they got Chicago to take
Mrazek's contract.
Yeah.
Wow.
For Toronto's first,
which
was 25th overall. Oh yeah,
a great move by Toronto.
I thought when they traded Mrazek, I was like, oh, they're definitely re-signing Campbell now. But then I saw a report just before you got here that was like, they had a meeting, but it was friendly, didn't go anywhere. So I think Campbell's going to go to free agency and get a buttload of money.
Yeah.
So they offloaded Mrazek, the only goalie Toronto has right now that has NHL experience. Well, they have 2. They have Shalgren and Wall have limited NHL experience. And I wouldn't call either one of them starting goalie caliber.
I think Shalgren could be, but he's not yet.
Wall could be too.
But he's not
They're both young, but... Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I don't know who's going to play goal for Toronto. Maybe Matt Murray. Or maybe Darcy Kemper. Or I guess they could re-sign Campbell. I don't know.
Apparently, the Kershaw and Gibson.
Toronto got Chicago's second round pick, or a second round pick in this year's draft in that trade. So
Good.
actually, not a terrible trade for Toronto either.
Not at all.
They basically just moved down and got rid of Peter Mrazek. So.
This is an excellent trade.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about another trade that led to a second trade.
Mm-hmm.
Montreal traded Alex Romanov in a 2022 fourth for the Islanders' 13th overall pick.
I am so surprised that they moved Romanov.
I saw somebody mention that he's an RFA and contract talks were going nowhere with Montreal.
Gotcha.
So I'm not terribly surprised that they did that. And then right after they did this trade,
Montreal made a good
Montreal flipped that 13th pick plus a third for Kirby Dach, like we mentioned before.
Right. Romanov, yeah, I could.
He's young now. He's a young player.
He played 79 games.
Yeah, he started most of the season.
He got 13 points. I didn't.
He's like a defensive defenseman. He's not like a big time scorer, but
Yeah,
so
I didn't write if
I don't know. I feel
if
like
he was under arbitration.
I'm surprised the Islanders did that because I don't know that he's necessarily worth a first round pick. Romanov, maybe.
I mean, if he's not up for arbitration, I think he is.
I don't know that he is. Let's find out.
Because the Canadians were the first team one of the first teams I did, so I didn't write if they were arbitration or not.
No, he doesn't even qualify for a offer sheet. He hasn't played enough games. So so they'll re-sign him.
Yeah, they'll re-sign him. His qualifying offer is just under $1 million.
Yeah, they'll re-sign him. They'll probably re-sign him for $1.5 million or something.
I'm just surprised that Montreal didn't keep him.
They really wanted Dach, and they saw a path to getting him.
Oh, yeah, no. It makes sense.
Hi, Ruthie. Hi. What? Do you need attention?
Like, using that to get Dach makes total sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, essentially, you're trading Romanov for Dach.
Yes.
Yeah. Just kind of a roundabout way. So, yeah, So, Montreal's top two centers now are both extremely young in Nick Suzuki and Kirby Dach. They
got Cole Caulfield and Slafkovsky on the same line.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll play on the same line or if they'll try to break them up just to get a little bit more depth scoring.
Maybe. Yeah.
It'll have to see how those guys play with. We know Caulfield plays very well with Suzuki. Caulfield, I believe, is a right wing.
Yes.
So they could play on the same line.
Yes.
But we'll see how they play with Dach. How Slafkovsky plays with the two of them. I don't know who. Oh, they still have Gallagher.
Yes, they do.
And Josh Anderson. So that's not. You know what? That's not a bad top six.
It's not.
Not a bad top six at all. Young guys, probably streaky. Dach has to get his head right.
Yep. But if he does,
but he was in Chicago. Chicago was so horribly run. But he could turn into a star because he was a fourth round pick a couple years ago.
And Chicago's still horribly run.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. If those trades weren't any indication of Chicago.
And their picks, they went off the board as well.
Well, not for all. It wasn't like crazy off the board. They were still all like first round graded talents. But Korshinsky, who I think they took at 7, was a defenseman, or is not dead. Is a defenseman. But there was a couple more highly rated defensemen. But like I said before,
who knows?
The NHL draft is a crapshoot. Everyone in the first round could never play in an All-Star game, and a guy in the 7th round could be a Hall of Famer. Don't know.
All the talking heads dragged Detroit for taking Mo Cedar.
That's true. Yeah, they did. And then, 2 years later, they're like, oh, he's very good. Cedar was still a first-round talent, too.
Yes.
Just not as high as... I think Detroit took him at 4. Did they take... Oh, yeah. You're right. Yeah, they took him at 4. Yeah, that is true that everybody was like, why? And now you can see why. He just won the Calder Trophy. So.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. More trades. Arizona traded the 32nd pick in the first round this year to Edmonton for Zach Kassian, the 29th pick, 2024 third, and a 2025 second. So that was a cap dump for Edmonton.
It was a great move by Arizona.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man.
Stacking more. And Zach Kassian can play, so it's not like, he can be there.
Yeah, he can be there.
He can protect your youngsters. He's one of those kind of guys.
Every once in a while, he has an amazing game.
Yeah, every once in a while he can score a few goals.
Yeah.
And they moved up in the draft, and they got 2 other draft picks, and this is more cap space for Edmonton, which they desperately needed. And I think this was before Duncan Keith retired, so that's like $9 million right there between those 2 things that happened for Edmonton.
Yeah.
It's
good.
Pretty good.
We talked about that trade.
Yeah, Ville Husso got traded to Detroit for a 3rd-round pick in this year's draft. That was it.
Yep.
And then Husso re-signed. Washington sent Vitek Vanacek to New Jersey along with a 2022 2nd-round pick for they swapped seconds this year, and Washington also got a 3rd.
Yeah.
So Vanacek to New Jersey.
I'm interested to see who
Kemper.
Washington gets.
Yeah, Washington. I think it's pretty clear they're going to take a swing at a free agent goalie.
There also talks about getting the Ducks to move Gibson.
That was another one, yeah.
So who knows?
We'll see. I don't know what the Ducks want for Gibson. I've heard it's quite a lot.
I bet it's Gibson.
Yeah, Washington's going to need some answers. I thought for certain they were going to keep Vanacek and get rid of Samsonov. Or Samsonov.
Yeah, it's
Who knows? Yeah, who knows? Moving on. Carolina.
Good for Carolina.
Traded the rights to Anthony DeAngelo in a 2022 7th for a 4th this year, a 3rd in 2023, and a 2nd in 2024, and that 3rd next year is the lowest of the 3 that Philly has currently. I forget what all teams that they have, but they have their own, and I think Florida and someone else's. And then DeAngelo, it's not confirmed yet.
Re-signed
for 2 years, $5 million per. Now, in a vacuum, that's not a bad trade or contract necessarily, but this is not what Philly needs to be doing. It's to replace Ryan Ellis, essentially, because there's question Ellis is going to play next year. Ever again.
Well,
and apparently Philly is trying to trade Provorov.
Is Ellis a more defensive or?
No, he's an offensive defenseman. All of their defensemen are offensive defensemen, except for Provorov, who they're apparently trying to trade.
Right. This trade, just what is Philadelphia like?
Now, in a vacuum, if a different team did this, not that bad. But
I disagree.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Well, DeAngelo did have a pretty good season last year. He had 50 points.
Philly is a garbage team.
Oh yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. If like a contender did this,
fine,
not bad.
If a contender does this is
if somebody like the not the Rangers, if Boston did this,
fine.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. But Philly,
Philly doesn't. The worst thing a team could be is to be bad.
Is to be mediocre.
No, is to be bad and not know they're bad.
Oh yeah, paging Chicago. What did I tell you this year, Chicago?
This is textbook Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's true.
They're garbage, and they're trading picks away.
Yep.
They need to rebuild, and they traded 3 picks away for DeAngelo.
Who behaved himself last year
until the playoffs.
Yeah, until he was jawing at Gallant, right? And Gallant was just like, nobody cares.
Also like the cheap crap, like the bull crap plays.
Oh yeah.
The dirtiness was in the playoffs, so he did fine the regular season.
See, here's the other thing.
And they only re-signed him for 2 more years.
Yeah.
For 2 years. If you're going to trade all that away, get him for at least 4 to 5.
Yeah, that's fair. Here's one other thought about Philadelphia. Who's your coach? I don't know if John Tortorella is going to love Tony DeAngelo or if they're going to knife fight to the death. One of those 2 things is going to happen. Because I don't think you signed Tortorella to just be like, oh, our new star defenseman DeAngelo doesn't like you. Bye-bye.
Right.
No. That might be part of the reason why they only did 2 years, too, because they're like, I don't know.
Then don't go for him. Don't go for him.
Also, don't sign Rasmus Ristolainen into a 5-year, $5 million extension either.
Right.
And now you're going to try. Now you're going to trade Provorov, apparently. I really don't get what Philadelphia is doing. I really don't.
It's just so confusing. And, like, again, I don't like D'Angelo. I cannot...
I don't think he's a good person, but he played pretty well last year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't matter if you're a good
A
person.
lot of athletes are bad people.
But I cannot hate on the Canes now just because D'Angelo's not on the team.
That's true. That's a good point.
So, yeah.
I would love to see it just explode and then just, like, get a fist. I would love to see Tortorella punch D'Angelo. As many problems I have with Tortorella, he at least seems like he's a pretty good person.
Right.
His coaching style and on the ice, not so much. Outside of hockey, he seems like a very genuine human being.
I mean, D'Angelo's from the Philly area, so, like...
Oh, that's true, too, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him, too, where he was like, I'm not racist. I'm like, okay.
But there's always a but after. You got suspended for racism.
Okay.
You got suspended for 8 games for being racist.
Yeah. So, yeah, I know. So I can't wait to see what happens with that this upcoming season.
Philadelphia's implosion is... Mwah.
It's happening. It's gonna happen.
It already happened last year.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's just...
There's no every other year bullshit
Are they gonna hit rock bottom? I really hope they don't get the first overall pick next year. That would really piss me off. But because Connor Bedard is supposed to be very, very good.
But next year's draft is supposed to be super deep anyway,
Yeah,
so they're going to get a top 5 pick no matter what. I
thought that's what people were saying about this draft too until like a month ago.
I think they just said it was top heavy.
Oh, maybe that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Whatever. And then we have one more trade that happened. Nashville traded Luke Kunin to San Jose for John Leonard and a 2023 third. So Kunin's a younger forward. Leonard, I believe, is a prospect forward. So I don't know. That might have just been Nashville moving out money to get that Forsberg trade done. But that's it for now. Let's move on to our previews, off-season previews. That's what it is. Who are you starting with?
I'm going to start with the Edmonton Oilers.
The Oils.
I have my thing right.
Oh, look at all that cap space they have now.
Yeah, it's amazing. So when I wrote this...
Oh, my God. Yeah, go ahead.
When I wrote this, they had $7 million in cap.
Well, now they have
16.
Yeah, they're just under 16.
So the Oilers' regular season...
did pretty good in the second half of the season.
Whatever I wrote was wrong.
They finished second in the Pacific.
They finished second in the Pacific with 100.
That's all you need to know.
With 104 points.
And went to the Western Conference Finals and got swept by Colorado.
Yep.
But, Colorado
But
wasn't
I'm
going to lose to anybody.
doing Edmonton.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Go ahead. I won't speak. I won't speak unless I'm spoken to. I was trying to help you.
I know. I just had their record wrong. I wrote 82, 49, and 26, which is impossible.
They played somehow an extra season. They got 82 wins.
Won all those games.
They went 82-0 in the season.
All right, so they have 3 RFAs. They have Ryan McLeod, Jesse Puljujarvi, who they are trying to trade, and there is no interest to.
I think there's no interest because they're asking too much for him.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And then Kailer Yamamoto.
Yeah.
Who they want to keep. They should want to keep.
Yeah, but he's got to get his shit together too. Both him and Puljujarvi, both play with either McDavid or Draisaitl and don't score shit. So, it's kind of one of the major problems. Their depth would look much better if those two. No, they're young, but
Yamamoto did step up in the playoffs. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah, that's true.
He will be very good.
He had a pretty good playoffs.
Puljujarvi and Yamamoto are 24 and 23 respectively. They're both right wingers. They had 36 and 41 points respectively.
It's not horrible, I guess.
Puljujarvi got those 36 points in 65 games.
You keep saying his name differently every time you say it.
There's a lot of J's.
And they were all 3 wrong.
There's a lot of J's.
It's Puljujarvi.
I don't care.
Okay, that's fine. It's a very confusing looking name.
A lot of J's. There's an umlaut over the A.
His first name's really easy. It's
Jesse.
Yeah,
I'm going to start calling him Jesse. All right,
good old Jesse.
Jesse's qualifying offer.
Jesse Pinkman.
Is $1.45 million, but the problem is he's eligible for arbitration.
Yeah, I think
so is Yamamoto.
Oh, I think they're going to keep Yamamoto, and I think eventually they'll trade
Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen. I saw the same thing you just said, where there was no interest in trading for him, but I think it's because Edmonton's asking for like a first-round draft pick for him. Like, I get it, he went like 4th overall or something, but you ain't gonna get that. Not with the way he has played.
No. They have a lot of unrestricted free agency.
Yes, they do.
That don't really matter.
No,
which is
only one
offensive
of them, only one
to
of them really
those
matters.
people.
They had bad depth,
but
for a reason.
You got Josh Archibald, who will probably not play in the AHL again.
He might. Maybe in the AHL.
But, so, he missed most of the season. He played 8 games.
Oh, wasn't he one of the guys that didn't get a COVID shot?
Yes. And then he got
That's
COVID.
Right. Then he got COVID. He didn't play for the rest of the year. That's right. I forgot about that.
1 assist.
Yeah, he played. How many games did he play in?
8.
8, yeah.
For 1.5 million.
Even if he played all 82 games, he probably would have gotten 20 points, maybe.
Right.
He used to be on the Penguins.
Derek Brassard,
another former Penguin,
is under $1 million. He's 34.
Derek Brassard has since he got traded to the Penguins. Derek Brassard has been terrible.
Kyle Turris played 73 games. Brent Kolek, 74 games.
Oh, yeah,
Kulak, sorry.
He was a...
That's my handwriting. Chris Russell.
Yeah. Chris Russell's 35.
35, yeah.
He might retire.
And Colton Scevor?
Seaver.
Yeah. Seaver.
It's another one of those
I was stuck between two. And then the big one, which is what I danced around, was Evander Kane.
Yes.
43 games. This is all regular season points. 43 games, 39 points.
And then I think on top of that, he had 13 or 14 goals in the playoffs, too.
I think he
played very well in the playoffs.
He had like 20-some points in the playoffs.
Yeah. He was scoring a lot of their goals. He's a very good player. Really trashy.
It was only...
Just like Tony DeAngelo.
He was only 2.1 on their cap, but his previous contract was $7 million.
Yeah, there's still some question. I think there's a lawsuit or something still happening
between him and the Sharks.
Whether he is still getting paid that contract. In which case he goes back on the Sharks cap hit, I think. He's not on their team.
But it might be dead cap.
That they have to deal with.
Because, the Kings are still paying Mike Richards.
Yeah, that's true. The Penguins are still paying Jack Johnson. The Islanders are still paying Rick DiPietro, who they bought out. He is much like Bobby Bonilla.
Good for him.
Yeah. So I know I heard that the hearing...
Stanley Cup champion Jack Johnson.
That's true. He is a Stanley Cup champion. And won it with his brother, no less.
Yeah, that is very good. Cool.
What was I saying? Oh, the hearing between Kane and the Sharks, I think, is not happening until free agency starts. So I don't know.
Doesn't it suck that you know which one, your parents like more because they didn't steal millions of dollars from him?
Oh, Eric, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I just feel bad for Jack
I
Johnson.
feel awful for Jack Johnson.
Just a horrible life.
Horrible
career.
I'm so glad he won a cup.
Yeah, me too. I wish it was with the Penguins, because that would have meant the Penguins won another one. But,
right.
But yeah, no, it's good for him. So I don't know what's going to happen with Kane. If he's going to sign for a lot somewhere, or if he gets money from the Sharks, maybe he'll be like, oh, maybe I won't sign for a lot.
Right.
You know.
I think
he'll sign for a lot either way.
Either way,
so,
he's gonna go for the most amount of money.
I don't know where he's gonna sign though.
No. If he signs for Washington, I'll be very upset.
Edmonton does have a lot of cap space now, and I know they want to keep him.
Yes, because he played fantastic.
Oh yeah, he plays great with McDavid. Because he just shoots when McDavid passes it to him, which is all you really got to do.
Yeah.
All right.
Next.
Oh, you done?
I'm done.
Okay.
With the draft.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I don't even talk about picks anymore.
We don't have to talk about the draft. That's right. I forgot about that. Minnesota. I'm going to talk about Minnesota. They have $1.4 million in cap space.
Uh-oh.
Hey there, Suter and Parise contract buyouts. How you doing? That's like $13 million of cap space being eaten up by that. They have 11 forwards, 7 defensemen, and 2 goalies signed. Now with Marc-Andre Fleury re-signed. So they can basically field a full team if they really needed to.
Yep.
They'll just have to bring up a couple of youngsters from the minors to
Yep.
fill that out. They do not have any RFAs. None.
Wow.
They only have 3 UFAs in Nick Bukestad and Nicholas Delorier and Jordy Ben.
Well, that makes having no cap room.
It's
have more
not
sense.
as bad, but when you look at like Minnesota did lose, they made it to the playoffs, but they did
beat.
lose in the first round. They were in that series. It was against St. Louis. It was a back and forth series.
It was 6 games, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So it wasn't like close, but Minnesota wasn't like it didn't get crushed.
From what I remember, when St. Louis won, they won.
Right, but also when Minnesota won, they won.
Yes, you're right.
So yeah, obviously the Kaprizov issue is going to be
That's the biggest
nerve wracking
thing.
until that gets figured out. But I have a feeling he'll be fine and in the country when the time comes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't got a lot, obviously, with that cap space. They don't got a lot of room to make any improvements.
Right.
I saw somebody mention they might try to trade Dumba, but I don't
think anyone takes him for a lot.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't ask for a ton, somebody might take him.
That's what I meant.
Like, contract. His contract's not horrible. It's $6 million. I think somebody, and it's only for 1 year, but he does have a modified no trade clause, so he does have some control over where he goes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think somebody would take a swing at that.
Yeah.
If they're not like asking for a ton of money, but I only saw that mentioned maybe one time, so who knows if that actually happens. Sorry, just looking at my notes. Yeah, that's really it for Minnesota.
Cool.
There you go. I just had to make sure that was honestly it that I had to say for them.
I'm going to do the Sharks. Finish off the Pacific. So the Sharks, their regular season was not good. They went 32, 37, and 17, which is 6th in the Pacific.
That was honestly better than I thought they were going to do, though.
Agreed.
So,
They had
32 wins. Hey, they were almost 500.
77 points, minus 50 goal differential.
Oh, yeah, that's bad. Oh, man.
Their cap is only 5.5.
Yeah.
They don't have any UFAs, but they got a bunch of RFAs.
Yeah, they do.
One less is John Leonard.
Oh, yeah.
He gone.
Actually, isn't, where's Kunin? Kunin is an RFA, too.
Kunin is an RFA?
So it's the same amount.
Well, shoot.
Well, don't worry about him.
No, we got Alex Chmelski.
Speaking of your mic.
Well, I had to read it. Alex Chmelski.
Yeah, sure. That's close enough.
23-year-old center. He only played 19 games. Jonathan Dahlin, which is the big one for them.
I think they said they're not going to qualify him.
What?
Yeah, I think I saw that today.
Alright, he's going to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
He played 61 games. He did have 22 points, which I feel like he had more, actually.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yona Gadjevich.
That's a fun name.
It is. Noah Gregor. Mario Ferreira. Nicholas
Meloche, probably.
I like Meloche.
Okay.
And Capo Kakinen. So the big one that they traded for is Capo Kakinen.
Yeah, I forgot they traded for Capo Kakinen.
So who knows what they're gonna do, because I think they're gonna stick with Reimer.
Yeah, I have heard that they want to keep Reimer. I mean, they're not really paying that much for their goalies.
No, so they could send out
Probably
Hill.
trading. No.
Because they could get a return for Hill, especially with the goalie market the way it is. He played pretty
or
good.
Or Kakinen.
Yeah.
Honestly, they could probably trade Kakinen's rights.
So
Look what the Rangers got for Georgiev's rights.
Yeah.
So they could probably move Kakinen. Yeah.
They're still gonna be bad.
Oh yeah.
Just depends on how bad.
I feel like at least this team knows they're not like real good.
Right.
So I'm sure they're not gonna be swinging for the fences in free agency.
No.
It would be very, very dumb of them to do so.
Well, they only have $5.5 million to work with all those RFAs. Unless
they make some trades, but
a couple of them are up for arbitration, so that could eat up that $5 super fast.
True.
And that's the Sharks.
That's
they're
the
stay
Sharks.
bad. They've been bad, and they're gonna stay bad.
One team that's real good because they were the champions this year and will probably be good next year too. The Colorado Avalanche. They have $24.4 million in cap space.
Yeah.
However, they have a lot of free agents.
Which is why they didn't keep Kemper.
Yeah. Currently they have 8 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 1 goalie signed to their roster for next season. Their RFAs are Nicholas Abe-Kubel, Arturi Lehkonen, and now Alex Georgiev. I'm sure they re-signed all of those guys.
They love Lehkonen.
Lehkonen played great for them in the playoffs.
Lehkonen.
Actually, so did Abe-Kubel. He played pretty well in the playoffs too. And then they have to re-sign Georgiev at this point. So I'm sure they'll get those guys back. Now, the UFAs is where it's going to get interesting for them because they're going to have to pick and choose between some of these guys.
Right.
Starting off with their UFAs, Andrei Burakovsky, Darren Helm, Nazem Kadri, that's a big one.
Yep.
Valeri Nichushkin, another big one. Nico Sturm, Jack Johnson, Josh Mason, Ryan Murray, and Darcy Kemper, who's definitely leaving.
Is that Manson?
I'm sorry, Manson. And then Ryan Murray is
Right.
the other one. So, yeah, I've heard that they're working on a contract with Nichushkin. So
They're going to keep...
that might happen before.
Nichushkin. I see them letting Burakovsky go.
I think Kadri is definitely going to leave too.
Yes. Just because Kadri can command a bunch of money.
Oh yeah, there's
someone is going to...
People are throwing out like $10 million.
Someone's going to overpay for Kadri.
Oh yeah.
Burakovsky is streaky.
He did well in the playoffs too, though. And
he's a little injury prone at this point.
But that might actually work in Colorado's favor to bring him back.
That's fair.
Helm is very old.
I love Burakovsky. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, no, I got you. Helm is older. If they want to bring Helm back, he would probably come back for cheap.
Oh, for a minimum, yeah.
Same thing with Sturm. Probably same thing with Jack Johnson, Josh Manson. I don't know.
I think he can get some money.
I think he could get paid. Ryan Murray, they could probably keep pretty easily too.
I feel for the most part, Colorado's going to try to run it back
as best they can. But I know they're definitely losing. They're definitely losing Kemper, and they're probably losing
Kadri.
one of, if not all of, Kadri, Burakovsky, and Josh Manson.
Yes.
So we'll see. Maybe they keep one of those guys or two.
Well,
I just don't think they're going to re-sign Kadri. I would be very surprised.
Is it Girardi?
Oh, that's right. Sam Girard is on.
Girard.
So he was injured.
Yes, he was injured. So
where is he? Oh, there he is.
So maybe Manson got brought in.
Yeah, I think he got brought in before Girard got hurt.
He did,
but Girard coming back might alleviate that. So maybe they don't even need Manson.
Right.
And then they could probably bring Jack Johnson back, like I said, for pretty cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Although Jack Johnson is 35. Oh, he's the older brother. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, he's the older brother.
I thought Eric Johnson was the older brother.
No. They've just been around for forever.
But I think they'll bring back most of these guys. Definitely lose Kadri. I just don't think they're going to be able to afford Kadri.
I mean, he's not like, why hamstring yourself?
Yeah, no,
like that.
If you could bring back Burakovsky and Nichushkin or just Kadri, I would probably pick the two players over the one player.
Yeah.
And then they can figure out.
Especially with how Nichushkin played.
Yeah.
At the end there.
Yeah.
With a broken foot.
Yeah. He played fantastically in the playoffs and in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. So, that's Colorado. Oh, one thing to mention for Colorado, they do have to be careful with their future cap space. Because I don't know if you noticed, Clay, but some guy named Nathan McKinnon needs an extension.
Holy poop.
And if you think he's taking anything less than $10 million, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Because right now it's at 6.3, which is cheap as hell for...
I didn't realize he was on such a team-friendly deal.
Oh, yeah. And I think he signed this deal when they were really bad that one season. Yeah. And the season they actually got Makar. And, yeah.
Well,
so he's...
Rottenen's on 9.25, so McKinnon's going to go for 10.
Yeah. I think you give it to him. You can't let McKinnon leave. At all.
Yes, you give him 10.
He is your star forward. So that's something I'm sure Joe Sakic, the GM of Colorado,
he knows this.
So,
Your GM of the year.
Oh yeah, that's right. He won GM of the year. Congratulations, Joe. He deserved it.
Yes.
Who are you doing next?
Buffalo.
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 Ooh, look at all that cap space. All that delicious cap space.
Delicious cap space. It actually went down since I originally wrote this. When I wrote it, it was 35 and a half. Now it's just 34.
Who did they get?
I don't know.
Oh, well, whatever.
So, Buffalo's season record. Not good, but
No.
so much better than they thought.
True.
32, 39, and 11. 75 points
Yeah, again, just like with those
Fifth.
Sharks.
in the Atlantic.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They did finish fifth.
Fifth in the Atlantic.
Just like with the Sharks, I think they had a much better season than people were. Especially after they traded Jack Eichel, people were probably like, terrible. Worst team in the league.
Tuck coming to Buffalo was so big.
Tuck and Tage Thompson had amazing seasons.
And also, it seems like the entire culture in the front office has shifted.
Well, it's because they fired Kruger as well.
Well,
He's not just the front office, but yeah, you're right.
up top.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe
it's
the
so less toxic.
who owns them? It's the same
It's
people
the
that own Buffalo.
Pagulas.
Yeah, I thought it was the Pagulas. Maybe they were like, just run
Well,
the team.
the
Hands
wife
off.
Kim is in charge of Buffalo.
Yeah, but I've heard she's kind of like a.
Well, I've also heard she's had some major health issues these past
Oh, well, that's sad.
recently.
Well,
But no, that
maybe
is
that
sad.
softened her approach a little bit. Yeah,
Right. They're letting people do their jobs.
that's nice.
Right.
That's what you should do.
And it's just turned everything around. One of the scouts was brought to tears. Like,
Yes, she was apparently very mean.
he asked
It's
how
apparently
the GM did, and he started crying because of, like, he was so happy. And this is after the draft.
Yes.
After
Yeah,
the draft.
Buffalo did have a good draft.
No, he was just crying because he was just like, the GM makes everyone feel included. Like,
Yeah.
so it seems like the culture's changed, and that's
Kevin
good.
Adams was their general manager.
All right, so we only have two RFAs.
Mm-hmm.
Victor Olofsson and Jacob Bryson.
Ooh, I've heard that they are working on an extension with Olofsson.
Yeah, they're going to want it because he had 49 points in 72 games.
Yeah.
And Jacob Bryson, not that bad. He did play 73 games, 10 points, but he's more defensive.
Yeah, Bryson's also 24, so
Right.
they're going to get that signed.
Exactly.
Same thing with Olofsson.
They're both
probably.
up for arbitration.
Look, they have enough money to
Yes,
sign
they do.
both of those guys easily.
Their UFAs, they have like 13.
They have a lot,
I think it's 4, 8, 10. 10.
Yeah. Well, no, it's 9. Was the change from when you did this Craig Anderson re-signed?
Yes, it is.
Okay, yeah, so it's
Yes.
9, but
Yes.
still, it's a lot.
Craig Anderson resigned.
When you were like, the cap went down, I was like, who did they sign? I was like, it
Yeah.
must have been Craig Anderson. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, Cody Eakin.
Yep.
I figured he had more than 12 points this season.
Nope. Cody Eakin's not
Super
particularly
good, no.
good, no. There's another Eakin player that I always confuse him with that's a lot younger.
Yeah.
That
And
is
I
a
also
much
didn't
better-
realize he was 31.
That's the thing. No, I'm thinking of the Richie. I'm thinking of Richie. There's a Nick Richie, and I think a Brett Richie, and one of them's pretty good and like 25, and the other one's pretty bad and
Okay.
like 34.
And I think that one's Brett Ritchie.
I think it's Brett Richie is the bad one.
Josh Hayden.
John Hayden.
Yep. I even wrote it right.
I have the luxury of looking at a computer screen while Clay is reading his own handwriting,
Which is not
which
good.
is bad.
John Hayden, which his cap was under $1 million. And
They could bring him back.
they
if
could bring him
wanted.
back if they want to. Vinny Hinostroza, 62 games, 25 points.
Yeah, they'll probably bring him back. I can't imagine it'll be very cheap or very expensive to bring back Vinny Hinostroza.
He was only on $1 million.
Yeah, double that, you probably get him back. He's a good depth guy.
Drake Kagua is.
Oh yeah, you said it right. I always want to call him Caligula, but it's not.
I almost did, just for the fun of it.
Every time I see his name, I'm like, oh, Caligula.
But he spent the entire season hurt with the same
Yeah.
injury that Jack Eichel had, and he already got the spinal fusion surgery. So we'll see what
Right.
he does. They'll probably resign him. We'll see what he does next year.
Yeah. Speedy recovery, Drake.
Now we're going to go on to the defense, which is Will Butcher, Colin Miller, and Mark Pizik. Who were Colin Miller's and Will Butcher were over $3 million. but they only played half the
Each?
season. Yeah.
Oh.
They were almost 4 for both of them. 4 each, both of them.
Oh, wow.
But they only played half the season.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe bring back one of them. They're similar in age.
It could be.
I guess you could bring back both.
Well, one's a lefty, one's a righty.
Right,
That's
yeah.
the problem. It could have been injuries. I didn't look too much into it. And then Pissick played 68 games.
Yeah. I forgot that they have one of my favorite names in the league, Henri Yokiharu.
Yeah, they got.
I love that name.
And then they have Uke Pekaluka.
Oh, they do. They
Yeah.
have great names.
Yes, they do.
Oh man.
So Lukanen is probably going to be either your starting AHL goalie or your backup end.
Yeah, I
NHL
don't know.
goalie.
He's still pretty young, so I'm wondering. Where is he? He's an RFA too, but it doesn't really matter. He'll get re-signed. He's 23. Maybe you.
Buffalo is in the goalie hunt, so they're
Yeah.
probably trying to keep Lukanen in the back burner to let him develop in
let
the
him develop
AHL.
in the AHL.
But
It's probably for the best.
Dustin Tokarski and Malcolm Subban are their free agent goalies.
I think they probably want a better goalie than that to
I mean,
come in. But they're gonna have to.
Tokarski and Anderson have the same stats.
Oh, that's true. I mean, you can bring Tokarski back or Subban back. Subban's younger.
Yeah, but
And you could just roll if you're just like, we'll just.
Subban is injury prone. That's the
That's
problem.
true. That's true.
He played 4 games.
Oh my God, both Subban brothers are gonna be UFAs
Mhm.
in the same year. Look at that.
Yeah, he played.
Hey, come on! They traded for Ben Bishop.
Malcolm. Shut up. Malcolm played only 4 games. He had 4.84 goals against average with an
Oh,
8.71.
that's right. Buffalo is one of those teams that like all of their goalies were hurt the entire season.
They played Dell, who injured Drake Matheson.
Yep. They got kicked off the team essentially.
Yeah, they played 6 goalies.
Yeah, something. It wasn't as many as was it Philly who played the most, or was
Montreal.
that last year? Or Montreal? I don't remember. Buffalo played a lot. It was Anderson, Tokarski, Subban. I think Lukanen got in a couple of games
Luke
there.
and Dell.
Aaron Dell, Michael Hauser was the other one.
Hauser got a win.
All of their contracted goalies played last year. And I remember Tokarski, I believe, if he didn't shut out the Penguins, he only put up 1 goal against the Penguins in an extremely frustrating game for Pittsburgh fans.
Yep.
Because I didn't realize that Dustin Tokarski was still in the league.
Yes, he is. 29 games, 7 goals against
Every
average.
every time the Penguins play a team, and it's like, this is their 4th string goalie, I was like, oh, we're getting shut out in this game.
Yeah.
Because Nico Dawes, who does Nico Dawes play for?
Couldn't tell you.
It's the Devils. And I was like, who's that? Oh, we'll score like 8 goals, and then he shut us out.
That was actually my guess. Tokarski was actually their backup plan this season.
Well,
So,
I'm interested to see. I mean, they had the assets to take a swing for Gibson.
The Devils, the Sabres, had a very good draft.
Oh yeah,
It seems like their culture has changed,
hopefully. But
and they finished the
people
season.
at Buffalo need some. Their football team is finally very good.
They finished the season strong too.
Buffalo fans are so loyal.
I don't know if they make the playoffs.
No,
but they're in a wild card.
Well, it depends on what they do in free agency.
Well, look at the Atlantic. You have to look at the Atlantic.
That's true. I mean, I would think, depending on what happens with Bergeron and maybe Krejci, and all of the injuries, Boston might take a big step back this upcoming season.
I don't think Boston possibly makes the playoffs. But you
yeah.
have
They
Florida,
could go in a big run once.
Florida,
they're all
Toronto,
fully
Tampa.
healthy. Oh yeah,
And that
absolutely.
4th spot's up for grabs between
Boston and now Ottawa
and Detroit.
And maybe if Buffalo makes some right moves, maybe Buffalo is in the mix for that too.
Who knows what
Who knows?
the Metro does, but
I hate the Metro. I hate
it's up for
division
grabs.
so much.
The 4th spot is up for grabs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's Buffalo.
All right, let's move on to the 2nd place team in the Metro Division, and the team that got knocked out in the Eastern Conference Finals, the New York Rangers. The Rangers have less cap space than I actually thought they did. They have $10.2 million in cap. They have 10 forwards, 6 defensemen, and 1 goalie signed to their roster for next year. Their RFAs are Capo Kakkonen, Capo Kakko, not the goalie Kakkonen, Kakko the forward. Their UFAs are Andrew Kopp, Greg McKegg, who has one of the best names in the league, Tyler Mott, Kevin Rooney, Ryan Strome, Frank Frachano, and Justin Braun. I assume they'll probably re-sign Kakko, unless they trade him. I know
They've been talking about
they've been
shipping
discussing him in trades.
I think they want. I think that.
They want Patrick Kane real bad.
Yeah.
But well, you know what? Chicago makes really terrible trades, so
They really
might
do,
trade.
yeah.
They might trade him to the Rangers at like 50% retained for I don't know, Kakko and then some other garbage.
Right.
You know, looking at how Chicago is going at this point. Oh, Chicago, by the way, I saw today are not qualifying Dominic Kubalik or Dylan Strome.
Well, I knew about Strome,
Yeah, so Dominic Kubalik either.
and I think Ryan Strome is going to.
Probably. That's the thing with the Rangers is they're probably going to lose some combination of Kopp, Strome, and or Vetrano.
Yeah.
They might lose all of them.
They might lose all.
Vetrano, I would love to see them lose because he always scores against the Penguins. But Kopp was a big deadline bring acquisition.
So was Petrano.
So, well,
He wasn't big.
Last year they traded for
Oh,
Vetrano.
I'm thinking of that. Yeah.
But both of them played very well for the Rangers. Kopp, I think, with his efforts in the playoffs, he's definitely priced himself out of the Rangers with all of these other
Yeah.
UFAs that they have.
Even Mott.
Tyler Mott too, maybe. Yeah.
Mott priced himself out.
Kevin Rooney. They could probably bring back Kevin Rooney. He's like a third, fourth line guy. Greg McKegg is like whatever. He'll probably take Bettman.
Yep.
And then Justin Braun was terrible. So who knows if somebody signs Justin Braun?
Right.
And I say that the Penguins will probably sign him. One thing to note, they have to be careful with their future cap space, just like Colorado, because Keandre Miller needs an extension this season.
He does.
This is his last season on his ELC, and he's gonna want $7.5 million, something like that. And he should get it. He's great.
Yeah.
If
they could lock him down long term with a.
Oh, I'm sure they'll try with an 8-year deal or something. Yeah, as best they can. But he's gonna want top dollar for that.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what you just gave.
Fox.
Fox deserved. Fox is an extremely good defenseman who's already won an Norris.
You give Keandre Miller the same.
You have to give him something similar. Maybe a little less, but it's got to be a lot.
You give him $500,000 less just because he hasn't won that Norris yet.
What is Fox's? Is it 9.5? Yeah, 9.5. I don't know. I think you could probably start your negotiations with Miller at 7, but you're gonna have to go up. So
Because
maybe seven with like a 3-year deal.
Because it's a negotiation, so you're
And
going to
he's
start lower.
And he's only 22, and he's like your second best defenseman. Ryan Lindgren is pretty good too.
He's only 24.
Yeah, right. I thought he was older too.
I thought he was 28.
No, 24. Yeah, your three best defensemen are obviously Fox, Keandre Miller, and Ryan Lindgren. You have Lindgren for a couple more years. Obviously, you just re-signed Fox. You got to lock up Miller. And
man, they're at a spot.
Next year is going to be a problem for them because Philip Hedl also needs an extension. So does Alex Lafreniere. Gauthier doesn't matter, but Lafreniere finally looked like he should.
Yeah.
In the playoffs. Philip Hedl also played very well in the playoffs. This is a name that I heard that they might try to trade is Hedl. He had a very good playoffs, and they could definitely get something for him. But his contract's only $2.3 million. It doesn't open that much cap space.
No.
And those guys are both RFAs, along with Miller next year, and also Philip Gauthier and Dryden Hunt and Ryan Reeves are both UFAs next year too. So I don't know. They're gonna have to be careful with what they do.
Right.
I try to bring back who you can on the cheap as best you can.
Yeah.
And then I would extend Keandre Miller because, if you're up against the cap next offseason, man, teams should offer Sheet Miller regardless of how many draft picks they lose.
Oh, he's worth it.
Oh yeah, I would do whatever the amount of money is for a first and a third. I would do that in a heartbeat for Keandre Miller. All right, that's it for the Rangers.
Keandre Miller's so good.
I wish he was on the Penguins.
Every single fan base wishes they have Keandre Miller.
All 31 other teams wishes they had Keandre
I want him over Fox.
Really?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Because I think
He's a little bit better defensively than Fox.
That's what
Little less good offensively, but obviously he's defenseman. So
I'd rather a more defensive guy
That's
who
fair.
can still put up decent points.
That's totally fair. Yeah, he can. He can score.
All right. Last.
Offer sheet him next year, Penguins.
With what money?
Shut up. They have money. A little.
Just tied up in other players.
Just they can trade.
All right.
Trade Marcus Peterson for Rangers. Trade Marcus Peterson. Trade Andre Miller.
Yeah.
What are you doing next?
Ottawa.
Okay.
Ottawa's last.
Oh man, Ottawa might be really good next
They
year.
might be
They
really
have so
good.
much cap space still.
Sorry. You just really broke my brain.
Sorry.
What is Marcus Peterson's cap hit?
It's like 4-2.
Okay,
Like
I
that.
was also thinking of like Cal Peterson, which is the goalie for the Kings,
Yeah, no.
who's at $5 million.
That's ridiculous.
It's not good.
That's so much.
It's the one bad move by the
that's
Kings.
not a good move.
All right.
Somebody
Ottawa.
take Marcus Peterson, please. Take my wife, please.
7th in the Atlantic.
Yeah. What are we doing in Ottawa?
7th in the Atlantic with 73 points.
Yeah.
The last 4 through 7, I believe, was only separated by 1 point.
Yeah, it was pretty
Between
close towards the
each
end
one.
there. Yeah.
So 33, 42, and 7 was their regular season. They didn't go to the playoffs.
Yeah. Not terrible, but or not good, but not like
Only a minus 39 goal differential.
Montreal. And hey, guess what? You just traded for something that'll bump you into the positive for that.
Man. So their cap, last I saw,
20.
was 23.25. So now it's only 20.
20.7 now. Yeah.
Their RFAs were Alex Fermenton,
Mhm.
played 79 games, 32 points. They'll bring him back.
Young guy too. Not even arbitration eligible.
Right. Adam Gaudette, 58 games, 14 points.
He's a UFA.
Really?
Oh, because they already said they're not giving him a qualifying
That's what
offer.
it is. All right. Yeah, they're not bringing Gaudette back.
Okay.
And a lot of Ottawa fans are very glad about that because his hockey IQ is poor.
Yeah, he's only 25, so I mean, he might go somewhere on the cheap and rebound.
I think he was formerly of the Canucks. And
He was on the Canucks,
same
then he
thing.
was on Chicago. He never stuck.
And
then he was on
I've
Ottawa.
seen the same thing. He has all the skills, but he
just
can't read the game.
He's just like never in the right spot.
right. Matthew Joseph,
Yep.
69 games, 30 points.
Nice.
Joshua Norris,
Mhm.
66 games, 55 points.
They absolutely
Not-
want to bring him back.
Not up for arbitration.
Nope.
His qualifying offer is under $1 million.
Yep.
So they'll bring him back for over $1 million to make him happy.
Oh yeah, for a couple of years at least.
What
What was
they don't have to.
What were Formenton's numbers?
Formenton was 79 games, 18 goals, 14 assists for
Yeah.
32 points.
You want that back?
You want that
Well,
back?
I'm sorry. What was Norris's again?
66, 35, 20 for 55 points.
He had 35 goals.
Yes, he did.
Holy shit!
He played great.
I'd give him like $4 million for like 4 years or
Yep.
something. That's
Mm-hmm.
more than worth it.
Mm-hmm.
35 goals. He's only 23.
Yes, he is. He's
Those
in
are Alex DeBrincat numbers.
He's like top line.
With Alex DeBrincat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's a center too.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
He was. I think he was their top line center.
that makes sense.
Um,
Oh yeah.
If-
They got like, dangerous. Their center depth isn't super good.
no, it's not. But
You know?
if,
Outside of that,
if those first two do good,
well, I guess Cap Friendly says Kachuk could play center.
he's a better wing.
He's a better winger.
All right. Keeping with you.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The RFAs. Now we're moving to defense. It's Eric Brandstrom and Victor Mete.
Mete.
Yeah. Brandstrom played 53 games. Mete only played 37.
Yeah,
Mete's up for arbitration, and his qualifying offer is 1.2.
I think he'll probably, if they re-sign him, I'm sure he'll get around that amount of money. Because Mete hasn't played very well.
No,
He used to be on Montreal, and then he was pretty bad. He was one of the players. Infamously, he had a goalless streak of like an entire season, basically. He's more
defensive.
of a defensive defenseman. So those aren't like not useful at all. You know, look at Brooks Orpik in his prime.
Yeah.
Very useful defenseman. Did not score very much.
Not at all.
But you don't have to. that much. If you're very good defensively, you don't have to score.
But if you're not that good defensively,
Mete was kind of like shaky. So, they'll bring back both of them probably.
Yeah. So their UFAs are Chris Tierney and Tyler Ennis.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I don't think they bring back either. Maybe Chris Tierney. Their center depth is really bad.
He played 70 games, so they could bring him back.
Yeah.
For only 3.5, you give him 4. That's it. That's super easy.
I would bring back Tierney just because your top line center is obviously going to be Josh Norris again.
Mm-hmm.
And then past that,
you don't have much.
You're letting Gaudette leave. Matthew Joseph, I guess, is a center. You have Dylan Gambrell. So I would bring back Tierney. Unless you know you're getting somebody in free agency.
Right.
I don't even know. Maybe Giroux. Giroux can play center.
So.
And I know that he's from Ottawa, and the talking heads keep trying to push Giroux to Ottawa. I don't know if that's going to happen.
They're just trying to push him to Ottawa. They're trying to push him to.
They always try to push guys to their hometown teams.
Right.
Which I get it. It's a good story, but it doesn't happen that much. You know. I would love to push Vinny Trocheck to the Penguins, but I don't know that that's going to happen.
So, Stolarz, nope, not Stolarz. Stutzla is going to be their starting goalie. But no,
Tim Stutzla. He's a left winger.
Stolarz is the Ducks. I'm on the Ducks right now.
So Forsberg?
Anton Forsberg. I was right earlier in this episode.
You said Anton Forsberg before.
I was right earlier in this episode. These beers, I have not eaten
not
today.
Even that strong. Oh, that makes sense. I was going to say they're 5.5%.
I have not eaten today, and that was a mistake.
That makes sense. Because I can't even feel these, but I ate lunch, so.
Anton Forsberg's going to be the starting goalie.
Yeah.
They're going to try to move.
He played okay last year, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
He actually played pretty well with their not great defense.
Yeah.
So if they shore up that defense.
Well, wasn't Shabbat?
Shabbat was sent out.
He was injured for a while.
I'm thinking of Sherratt. Yes, Shabbat got hurt.
Sherratt did get traded. Yes, he was on this team, but he was on Montreal. Shabbat was hurt for.
Problem with doing all the Atlantic teams, it all blends.
Yeah, it all blends together eventually. Shabbat, I think, was hurt for a lot of the season, so that did not help. I forgot that they got Travis Hamonic.
Yep.
But, yeah, it should be
That was
interesting.
a weird move.
I know that they're trying to trade Matt Murray. Maybe they trade him to Toronto. Even if they eat half of his cap hit to do that,
good.
You're still freeing up $3 million in cap space. They can
get
easily
so
do
much
that.
depth with $3 million.
Yeah. Or if Ottawa, again, like with Buffalo, depending on what Ottawa does in the off season, they could be right in the mix for a playoff spot.
They already locked up Drake Batherson for a while.
Yes, they did.
Then Tkachuk has been
27-28.
locked up for a
Tkachuk
while.
Too.
You can totally bring back DeBrincat.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure they'll extend DeBrincat. I'm sure they're already talking about it. So you added DeBrincat, that's 35 to 40 goals right there.
Mm-hmm.
If
you end up getting Giroux,
that's a perfect person to pass it to DeBrincat.
Yep.
Yeah. Could you think of it this way? If your top line was old man, or if your second line was old man Giroux, passing to either Drake Batherson or Alex DeBrincat to just fire it into the net. Damn.
Goals.
Yeah, damn son. Because Giroux, he's
step 4 profit.
Oh yeah. Giroux is still older, but
the man can pass.
His game really hasn't gone down that bad. There's a reason that Florida traded for him. He's still playing okay on a bad team.
His speed was never his biggest asset.
No, but the man can pass.
Yeah.
So he's one of a legendary passer. So you bring him in, put him with DeBrincat or Tkachuk and Batherson or Stutzla or whoever.
Jesus.
Yeah,
and Stutzla had a great year, so they're going to bring him back next year.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're working on an extension for Stutzla as well. Let's look at what his. Where are we at? 22 goals, 36 assists, 58 points. That's pretty good for your second year in the league. And he's 20.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm glad Stutzla was on this team, which is why I said his name.
Stutzla. It's a fun name.
Yeah.
German boy.
I'm done.
All right. So, our last team in our off-season previews is the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes have quite a lot of cap space. They have $19.4 million. However, they only have 8 forwards, 5 defensemen, and 2 goalies signed for next year.
Mm-hmm.
So, their goalies are figured out. but they need some defense and forwards. Their RFAs are Steven Lorentz, Martin Necas, and Ethan Bear.
You bring back Necas.
I think you bring back Bear too.
I
think you bring back all three of your.
Yeah, you can bring
your
back
RFAs.
all of them.
That might eat up like $10-12 million though. Lorentz probably cheap, but Necas and Bear, you're probably going to need.
I don't know how expensive Bear's going to be.
Probably not super expensive.
He didn't play that great, especially towards the end.
But their UFAs are Max Domi, who I think is gone.
You're gone.
He was a trade deadline acquisition,
and he didn't play well.
No, he didn't. Nino Niederreiter.
You have to bring back.
Derek Stepan, whatever. Vinny Trocheck, Ian Cole, and Brendan Smith are their UFAs. Now, of those, the ones that I'm sure they really want to bring back are, like you said, Nino Niederreiter and Vinny Trocheck.
You got to bring Niederreiter back.
Because those two combined was like something like 50 or 60 goals that you would lose next season. Necas is a center, so is Vinny Trocheck. So, like, maybe you lose Trocheck to keep Niederreiter.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. But
you freed up some cap space that you would have had when you got rid of D'Angelo.
True.
But
yeah, I just don't. I don't know. I guess you're gonna have to pick between Niederreiter and Trocheck. I don't think you have enough to bring back both and then field a full team.
Personally, I'd bring back Niederreiter.
Yeah,
he's been perfect in Carolina since joining them.
Trocheck has played pretty well for them too.
He has, but I don't think you keep them both.
Trocheck had 21 goals, 30 assists for 51 points, and he had 10 points in the playoffs too. Niederreiter did do better than that, I think, though. So, but like, what's he gonna ask for? You know, he's coming off of.
Keep coming down.
Oh yeah, you're right. This one.
5.5.
5.5 per year. Cap.
Sorry, 5.25.
5.25. So he's gonna want a raise on that, and he had 24 goals and 20 assists this past season, and only 5 points in the playoffs, but. I don't know. Maybe they get creative. Maybe they trade somebody off, and they're able to keep both. But I don't know. I think you're going to have to pick between one of the two.
Right.
Oh, I forgot that they have Jordan. Yeah, they can lose Vinny Trocheck without real. I mean, it'll hurt, but they have Sebastian Aho at center. They have Stahl at center.
Yeah.
And they have. I forgot they have Jesper Kotkaniemi as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if they keep
for a long time, they have Kotkaniemi.
Yeah, and if they keep Necas, he can also play center. I mean, maybe he's better on the wing, but Steven Lorentz can also play center too.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll lose some center depth, but if your 1-2 is Aho and Jordan Stahl, and your number 3 is Kotkaniemi, that's not horrible. Stahl's getting up there in age, but he can still play.
Yeah, he can.
But yeah, I mean, I think they'll probably bring back Bear, and then they could probably bring back either Ian Cole or Brendan Smith.
For cheap, I think they can.
Yeah. And then their goalies, for better or worse, are Freddie Anderson and Monty Ranta.
I think Brendan Smith was playing a lot of offense, too, for them.
Yeah, it is listed. It is also listed as left wing for Brendan Smith, which is odd. It's always weird when they do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't have any wingers. Brendan, go play wing.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes that happens. I remember... you remember Derek England? He was on the Penguins, and the same things happened where the Penguins got hit with like injuries that weren't like long term, so they couldn't call anybody up because of the cap. And they were like, Derek, go play right wing on the fourth line. And he actually scored a couple of goals doing that, which is really funny because he's not like a offensively minded defenseman. That's it. That's it for our off-season previews.
Perfect.
So, I think next week is probably going to be it for the season. We'll give a little recap on any signings that happen in those days.
Hopefully something happens, or it'll be a real quick episode.
Yeah, and if it is, whatever, you know. The off-season might be or the free agency might be a little boring.
To start.
Just because it's looking like a lot of the big guys are re-signing.
Mm-hmm.
Goudreau's still out there. Malkin essentially is still out there.
Right.
Others.
Heard rumors about them
Oh, Campbell and Kemper are still out there too.
Not being able to agree terms with Chuck.
Yeah, I mean that's just a rumor though. I don't think they'll trade Kachuk. That would just wreck Calgary. If they lost both Gaudreau and Kachuk.
It's
It
over.
would destroy them.
It's
That
over.
would destroy all of their offense. But we will talk about that next week.
Yep.
Whatever happens. Hopefully there's some more trades that we can shit on. Chicago. Philadelphia. No one else. Just those two teams. But thank you guys for listening. As always, you can catch us where most podcasts are, Spotify and the like.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow us on Twitter if you really want to. You don't gotta. And give us a rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tell your friends, tell your family, because we're talking BuzzPucks for at least one more episode.
Out here.
Probably one more episode out here. And we will see you next week at the same puck time.
Same puck place.
Bye.
Bye.